What's going on, it's the RapNerd, and I just got back from seeing I Saw the TV Glow. It's A24's latest horror film that follows two teenagers named Owen and Maddie who bond over a horror TV show they used to watch as kids. And as their bond grows, Maddie disappears and Owen gets to kind of research as to why this happened, and it all draws back to that show they used to watch called The Pink OPEC. Now, what drew me in about this film is the fact that they're really leaning on the nostalgia that these characters are having that looks similar to like Snick, like Are You Afraid of the Dark in a sense, or even Goosebumps. It's kind of what the vibe of The Pink OPEC is. Just the trailer just brought me in with the whole vibe and the aesthetic and everything. But I have to say, I did not like this one too much. Now, the director for this film is the same person that directed The World's Fair, which is another movie that I didn't really like. And if I had known that this was that director, I probably wouldn't have seen it. And no disrespect to them at all. You know, they just make films that I can now see that are not my style of film. And while I do think that this movie is better than The World's Fair, it's still more of the same. But the only difference is this film has a very striking visual prowess, something that The World's Fair didn't, because that was more of a movie of found footage. But outside of that, it's kind of the same type of film as The World Fair. Again, the positive I do have about it is a great looking film. The cinematography is beautiful, it's shot well, it's lit gorgeously to really amp up the eeriness, and just you get that sense of hopelessness that the movie does present. So it definitely does a great job there, even though some of the framing and blocking are overly intentional to the point where it does feel a little forced, like people don't stand the way that some of these people have are framed and blocked in the movie, and it kind of is like but other than that, visually it's stunning. Like, seriously, that part did keep me in touch with the film as a whole, going on. But for me personally, the story and the dialogue and just the performances just did not do anything for me. They play both for these characters, Maddie and Owen, and you're with Owen most of the time, but he pretty much is the stereotype of like a moody teenager that really delivers things very dry, and it's not a lot of expression besides, of course, the screaming when the horror elements do hit, and all of the characters in the film pretty much fit that same aesthetic as far as characterization. It's moody and kind of drab in a sense, and I understand why this performance was this way, because they really want to hone in on the hopelessness and the depression of the film. But I feel like it wasn't enough to keep me invested. The whole time I'm just here like trying my hardest to stay tuned into the film. The film didn't keep my focus that much. So the characterization was a bit under me. And one of the big things about the film, just like The World's Fair, is there are a lot of metaphors here that you can take away from it. Like, for folks who enjoy metaphorical storylines that present these different concepts and ideas, you might really love this film, because there's a lot to be said here about identity and just our relationship with nostalgia and our relationship with just media in general. There's a lot here that can be said, and while I did like those themes and I can understand and appreciate those things and what they were trying to do, I just don't think the execution was done well enough. Personally, I think you can present metaphors and these different concepts and ideas. It's cool, but you have to have something streamlined to really keep the audience. And again, some people don't, are different than me, but I'm just speaking for me personally. To keep the audience on the hook, I found myself having to get myself back on the hook. This movie didn't really grab me at all. I can see the themes, and to me, the film kind of comes off as like overly layered with these themes, I guess. Not even overly layered, that might be not the right thing to say, but just it feels a little bit try hard as far as trying to hide things metaphorically. But to me, it's all in plain sight personally, and I think that streamlining the concepts and making the metaphors kind of be the icing on top of the story rather than making the metaphors be the story kind of took this movie back for me. And again, it was a struggle to stay really focused on watching the film. Like, I found myself just thinking about different things just watching it, because of just the pacing and the I don't know, it's weird. It's like there's like a lack of energy in the film that didn't catch my attention enough. And I actually like the concepts. Again, the idea of using this show to be a cover for the lack of identity and the connection to things. I really enjoyed it, but it just didn't work for me. And it doesn't make it any better because this really is reminiscent of a creepypasta called Candle Cove. As far as the TV shows, of course, there are differences in how this story ends up working out and how that story works out, but it's the similar concept with these adults or these people in general who are connected to this TV show in a weird way. I just feel like Candle Cove handled that aspect of keeping my attention way better. And if you have seen it, Candle Cove is the first season in Channel Zero, which is an anthology horror series that's on Shudder right now. And the first season is Candle Cove, and I couldn't help but be watching this and thinking about how Candle Cove kept me way more engaged than this movie did. You know, Candle Cove was able to sprinkle horror and different elements to keep you engaged and keep you on the edge of your seat. But here, I just did not get that. There aren't that many horror elements, period, honestly, even though it's selling itself like a horror. But it does have it, but it's just not enough to really quench the thirst of something being labeled as a horror. And again, all of that is there to do. Like, I'm watching this movie hoping like they go down this route, because I'm like, that's cool. I would like to see more of that, because they do this dope thing that the show, the Pink OPEC, they actually shot footage of the show, so you get to see it. And when you're in the show, the letterboxing changes to where it fits like a, you know, those TVs like in the 90s and 80s, how going for more of a square scene, and you're in the show. And I feel like there were opportunities to make that really be an easy way of pumping some horror elements into it. While they did it for one scene was crazy, but it just was not enough for me to stay focused on it. So all in all, this movie was kind of a miss for me. I tried to think about it on the way home and just maybe I would like it, but I just don't, you know. So but I do appreciate the visual aesthetic. It is a beautiful movie, and if you are interested in seeing it, definitely give it a watch to form your own opinion. But for me, it just didn't work. So let me know in the comments what you think about this film. And a lot of these experimental horror films that we've gotten, it's been an uptick of these, and I haven't really liked any of them. And the experiments I'm talking about, you have this film, of course, Skinamarink, which I literally hated that movie. Ennie's Men. It's in the category of those films if you're wondering what it to be compared to. So if you like those experimental horror films, you probably like this one. But if not, this one isn't going to be one to get you on board. So let this kind of content, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already are subscribed, thank you. And until next time, peace. RapNerd Productions, no capping, that's word to mommy.